Good morning, people, or afternoon. It's Obley. Today, I'm just doing a quick video on why you should play Unholy DK. So, I'm going to do one for Unholy DK, one for Frost DK as well. So, I've been messing about with Unholy DK a little bit in the new patch, and it's really decent. I actually enjoy it quite a lot. Now, the pros to playing Unholy DK are as follows. There's quite a lot of pros, to be fair, compared to the cons. But you have things like passive damage. A lot of the damage you do as a Unholy DK, it is very passive, and I think that's quite good in some respect because it means that you have a very simple rotation. The rotation, let's get them up, is literally you're looking at Festing Strike if you're to stay above 2 wounds, Clawing Shadows to pop them, Death Call to spend your runic power. That's pretty much it. In Execute phase, all of a sudden Soul Reaper comes into play, but everything else is basically a cooldown or it's AoE. So Epidemic, for example, we just trade out Epidemic for Death Call's place in there, but the rotation stays very much the same. In AoE, you just make sure that everything you make sure you D&D with everything as well, that your Clawing Shadows cleave. But I think that's pretty decent. I mean, now when people ask me the question, what's better, Frost or Unholy, I pretty much always say Unholy, because Frost, I think, feel like there's a little bit too much that you need to balance, you need to juggle, you need to think about, you need to play chess, you need to play Killer Machine chess when you play Frost. But with Unholy, not so much. Just have to make sure that your festering wound cycle is okay. But I think they have one of the best executes in the game, especially with Reaping now. If you play like a commander build like this, Reaping now giving your minions 10% increased execute damage is huge. I think that's really good. Like the damage from Soul Reaper isn't actually that great, but the 10% pet damage is so good. But in terms of the actual single target that they do, I wouldn't say it's anything to. I would say it's good, but I'd say once you get to the execute phase, all of a sudden they have a decent amount of single target, really. And not to mention, if you wanted to then do some cleave, all you need to do is like change one talent point. So this is a full Mythic Plus build. If I put the this would be the single target build, right? I'm sorry, this would be the single target build, right? So in order for you to just end up doing some ridiculous cleave with the Magus, just do that. Just put it into the Magus point and then keep this. So all of your single target damage is still there. But now you also have this ridiculous cleave that comes from the Magus. The Magus genuinely is super strong. I wish I could show you on the meters here. I think I've got something. I must have a. No, not really. I did all these keys and did all these dungeons in Frost, but it doesn't matter. Magus damage is massive. You just source. Trust me, bro. You just have to take my word on it. But so I think also it's got a very cool theme. I like its theme a lot. I think Unholy DK's theme is pretty sick. Summoning all of the mobs. Especially with Raise A-Bomb. That's basically what we want to be as a DK, so I do think it's pretty cool. I think the gearing is pretty easy as well, like because now you like crit, you like haste, like everything. Once you get to about 21k haste, 21k mastery, you can then put some more stats into crit. So looking for the best in slot gear isn't as hard as it was before, and making the switch from Frost to Unholy is really easy as well. So playing Unholy is a good thing for you if you like to switch DPS specs often, or if you like to raid and you like to be there for your raid, and they're asking you, okay, can you play Frost? You're like, yes, of course, I play Unholy. Of course, I can play Frost. But also it scales really well with that now because we like crit a lot. We scale very well. But so not to mention, like, I know that a lot of people talk shit about the utility of DK, especially Unholy DK, because we don't really have much. But in my eyes, I don't feel like there's. I feel like we have a decent amount to give Unholy like a worthy shout out. I mean, we have 3 separate buttons, all that can disrupt a single target casting mob. So Blinding Sleet is one, Asphyxiate is another, and then we have Grip. So if something is casting and you can't interrupt it, we have at least 3 ways of stopping the cast from going off anyway, which I think is really good for just tying a mob down. It's equal to rogues from like BFA when they had so much. I don't know how much CC rogues have now, but back in the day when I actually played a rogue, I knew that I could lock down one mob probably with about 5 different abilities, and now DKs have 4. But if you count the second Grip of Death as another spell, then you'd have 5 as well. So I think that gets looked over a lot. It's not often that you have to consider this, but when you're pugging and groups are terrible at organising AoE cooldowns and things like that, I think it's really worth knowing. Especially if you as a player, you are a DK that pugs. If you can take with you the fact that I have 5 different abilities that I can use to prevent a wipe from happening in my group, and I can do that on my own, of my own accord, I think you're instantly going to have a better time in pugs. But there's also things like if you play Sand Lane, you get the raid-wide leech buff. Let me see if I can show you a little bit. here. I mean, it's nothing major, but leech is leech, and I mean, your healers will definitely thank you for it. And in my opinion, anything, so it's this one here, a vampiric aura. Your leech is increased by 2% while Lichborn is active. Your leech bonus of this effect is increased by 100%, and it affects 4 allies within 12 yards. If you're doing just Mythic Plus, and it's a particularly different, difficult scenario where a darkness would really work, then Vampiric Aura will also really work too, because the way that darkness works, it's almost the same as how it would benefit Leech. Leech being staggered damage, doing it bursting. As you're damaging, you heal yourself. Naturally, you'd want a profile like staggered damage to benefit this. But so I think that's really good. Not to mention you're fast as fuck if you play Rider. If you play on your horse, super quick. Now, one of the downsides to this is that when you don't have your horse, you are super slow. It does suck a little bit, but it has the same cooldown as Death's Advance. So I mean, even if you're playing Frost, you still get the same amount of speed. Actually, no, you get more speed because it's an increased amount of time to Death's Advance, and it's quicker. So I think that is massive, because one of the downsides as well to DK is just the fact that they're super, super slow. But one of the upsides to Death's Advance and Death's Charge and things like this is the knockback prevention. While you obviously casted this, you don't get knocked back, and that is massive. As a player that's been playing DK for such a long time now, I constantly find that the anti-knockback mechanic is so useful. Many, many times. All the time. Like Razageth, for example. Razageth was really good because I didn't have to worry about the mechanic. I could just pop my DA and I'm fine. Then maybe you had like the pushback in Algathar Academy. You have many different pushbacks. Nobar Palace. Nobar Palace was renowned for having things that wanted to move you, and you would never be moved. It was great. Sprocketmonger was good. I like to use Death's Advance on Sprocketmonger when I was getting popped back, and I would use the portal so that I didn't need to sort of time it correctly. I could just have Death's Advance, the mechanic go, and then I can just freely use the portal. I don't have to worry about being knocked back or not timing it well and fucking it up and things like that. So I think that's good. So like not being able to not be knocked back is a massive plus. Being able to completely absorb mechanics with things like AMS. I can't believe the amount of times that I just haven't had to deal with something. Like being a DK, you're the laziest raider because you don't have to deal with anything because you have so many mechanics that can get you out of stuff. AMS, IBF, Lichborn, all of those things are CC breakers as well as just good damage reduction cooldowns. IBF. So, IBF, Lichborn, 50% damage decrease, 30% damage decrease. AMS is completely negating magic damage as a whole. 6 million shield, that's half your health. That's pretty big. I mean, not to mention, even if you do take too much damage, you can self-heal yourself pretty well. Like, Deathstrike heals a good amount. 40% of all damage taken in the last 5 seconds, but that's a minimum of 10% of your maximum HP. This can literally half heal you if you take in a shitload of damage. You have things like Death Pact, which will half heal you again, but then you have to be healed of 30% or wait out the buff in order for you to heal yourself again. And then, not to mention Dark Succor. So Dark Succor is this little part here. When you when you kill something, you get the ability to use Death Strike for free. Heals for an additional 10% of maximum health as well. I can't tell you how many times that saved me in A, PvP, and B, solo content. I think that's great. I think it's such a good thing. Now, speaking of PvP, Unholy is also a very good choice in PvP because it's got such a good ability to rot comps down. So it's a big pick in Battlegrounds, in 3v3s. I mean, it's pretty much known as like the anti-heal class because of things like Necromancer's Bargain and Necrotic Wounds, both directly affecting if you get healed or how much you get healed. So that it continues to always be a very good pick in places like that. You've got the 70% slow off of Chains of Ice as well, and then if you go into Perforating Chill, then there's 2 enemies that have 70% slow. Do you know how annoying that is? As a DK, you actually don't, it is impossible for you to be slowed below 70%. So I never have to deal with being super slowed, and I hate it when I'm slowed 30%, let alone being slowed 70. So for us to have something like that, and for it to literally just cost 1 rune, is pretty nuts. I think that's got to be one of the strongest single target slows in the game. And I mean, one honourable mention, I suppose, about Unholy DK being a good pick is fucking water walking. I don't know about you, but I fucking hate swimming through water. And being able to walk on water is really, really nice. I think that's such a good thing. Do you know what? You can actually also use it in Gambit to cross the middle bit at the start if you actually wanted to. But so that's the pro. I mean, what are the downsides? You've got slow when you've got no horse, essentially. You take time to ramp up. You need to really put some money into ramping up and plan how you're going to do damage. If you don't end up planning, then you're kind of stuck there just Death and Decay and just cleaving with Clawing Shadows with no wounds on you or on any targets, and that sucks. You just have to wait there until you get your Festering Scythe and Mythic Plus. That's not ideal. The pet AI can also be quite shit. When you play Rider, often your horses will just fuck off and just do something different, like they've got somewhere else to be other than your minion. And then if you play Sand Lane, the issues with Sand Lane is obviously having to keep up extra buffs. Now Sand Lane is a little bit more difficult than Rider, but not rotationally. It's more that you just need the tank to pull for you so that you can always keep up your your Vampiric Strike buff and Essence of the Blood Queen buff, things like that. Now that the annoying part of like Blood Beast is changed and it always comes out with your Dark Transformation, that's very decent. I'd say like Sand Lane is a bit tankier as opposed to Rider in terms of utility. You've also got like Icebound Fortitude having its cooldown reduced if you kill enemies, which directly works with things like Dark Succor. So I mean, it makes it even more tankier. But we're on the downsides, not the upsides. You don't get a raid buff. You don't buff the raid. All you do is provide some sort of CC utility, but like a CC. It's like our core is built around CC. Whether or not we're doing CC or whether or not we're preventing CC, that's pretty much all we're good for. We do have AMZ, which is now uncapped, and I think this is actually going to be quite good in the raid. But it's on a 4-minute cooldown, mind you. You can reduce it down to 3 minutes, which I think you're probably not going to pick this very often. I mean, maybe in some mythic raid pools, you may, but I can't see it being super important in most places. I say the first boss, when you're doing that double soak on mythic, that's going to be a good position for AMZ. You are restrained to D&D when you're doing AoE. If you cast Legion of Souls, then you're not. If you spec into Desecrate, then you're not. However, both I think Desecrate and Defile both they're not really seeing the light of day in this play because even though they're good, everything else is just slightly better. So you're forced out of your quality of life. Realistically, Defile and Desecrate should be where Abomination Limb is, so that blood can spec into it as well and take advantage of both of these. This should be gone, and it should be here in the general, and then Defrost would just never touch it, really. Like I said before as well, like the single target damage is only really good if you're executing too. Before that, you're kind of your middle to low pack, which is a bit shit. Not to mention, you also have to be in melee to cast all of your burst cooldowns. So, I mean, that's probably not the worst thing in the world because you do want to be in melee when you're bursting, as you are a melee character. But you can't do any sort of trickery beforehand. As you're running in, you have to be at the mob, ready to go. And then things like your Apocalypse requires your combo points, your Festering Wounds on the targets. And I mean, I think everybody is going to say and be writing in the comments now that the worst thing and the biggest downside is the wounds, is the fact that playing around wounds is not great. Me personally, my personal opinions, I don't find them difficult or annoying to deal with at all, but it does make target switching quite difficult. So if sudden ad spawns that needs nuking down as soon as possible, you are not going to do that. You are not going to do very, very well, and your raid leader will probably shout at you and say, "Oh, why are you not doing loads of damage on the ad?" And you'll say, "I tried." But yeah, so that is my opinion on why you should play Unholy DK in the next coming tier. Look out for the Frost one. If you have any comments about Unholy, leave them in the comments below. Make sure to follow and subscribe. And if you want my UI, just head over to my Discord to grab it. Thanks very much, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.